man, it's me, Kevin Smith. We're at IMDb at San Diego Comic-Con 2019. And look, it's the cast of Cobra Kai. Give it up for them, ladies and gentlemen. Kids, you've seen me tweet about this show. I'm a massive fan, but I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to put it on Front Street and tell you this was the only reason I came to Comic-Con this year. When they were like, we're back on the boat, I said, you got to get me to Cobra Kai cast. I loved this show so much, legit loved it. Not just like, boy, it was a hoot. You couldn't bother me when the show was on, man. My wife was like, what are you doing? I was like, shut up, my stories are on. I went so deep in it, like I caught up on season 2. I didn't see season 1 when it first aired, and then when the billboards for season 2 went up, I was like, you know what, man, I got to give this a shot, because I loved the idea when I first heard about it. And then I just binged them both back to back and had the best 2 days of my life. It took me 2 days to watch all the episodes, and I would do nothing else. I absolutely adored it. It is made with such passion and love. I paid in a movie theater to see KK1 in the very beginning, so I'm invested in Daniel LaRusso's story. He was a boy from Jersey, I was a boy from Jersey, so that made a difference and whatnot. Watching the story continue with the next generation, with your kid, absolutely loved it. It was one of those things where sometimes when you're a creator, you see something you like, and you're like, man, I wish I'd thought of that. I watched this and I was like, I would not have been smart enough or heartfelt enough to think about this. This show has incredible heart, man. Take me through it. It's your story, more or less, this time around.
Well, it's a lot of it. It arcs on Johnny's redemption, and the guys pitched to me, by the way, this is Josh Hield, Hayden Schlossberg, and John Horowitz, the creators of the show. These are the guys. They have all the heart, and they have a great story about you, by the way, and how they know you, which they'll tell you later. Anyway, they came to us one by one. They came to me first and took me to a Mexican restaurant and pitched the Johnny Lawrence story, and they said it would be like, kind of like Bad Sensei, it would be like Bad Santa, but it's Bad Sensei if it wasn't Karate Kid. And they were huge fans, and they just went to the belly of this character and said, let's do it. So I jumped on, then they got Ralph, and it's just been an incredible ride in the cast, and everybody came together, and we're kind of living a magical moment right now. It's kind of a repeat in the sense of the magic of Karate Kid, and it's back, and it's continuing. It's amazing. It's really kind of a miracle, and we're having a great time, and the fans have been amazing, and the response like yours is, it's incredible, yeah.
It like, little details just absolutely did it for me, because remember, this show's so good, it undid decades of hatred for a character. You're like, oh, he's the bad guy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you know, you've read the memes online about, like, I think through a certain perspective, Daniel was the bad guy. And the show doesn't set it up like that, but it does kind of say, like, well, what happened to the other guy? Yeah. And the fact that where I was won over, like, forever was when I think you were doing, like, a dating profile or something, and you were like, movies. You're like, Iron Eagle and Iron Eagle 2. Like, oh my God, I love that so much, man. And it's still true to the character. Like, even though it's a redemption story, like, it's not like everything at the end of season 1 turned out like squeaky clean, or even at the end of season 2, which is heartbreaking. I'm so glad to see you here. Tells me things about possible season 3. But it was able to, like, do something with the character insanely compelling. And this sounds like a weird comparison, but remember Wicked? How they made the movie, the Broadway show about, like, the Wicked Witch, and suddenly like, oh my gosh, she was great. It's kind of like that, man. It was so compelling to spin it on you, but we can't do it without you. And having you come back, man, was everything. Did I read right? At first you were like, I don't know about this.
Well, I was like, I don't know about this for the past 30 years. You know what I mean? When these guys came with the pitch, the angle, and, you know, the film Creed had not happened. It happened kind of recently, and so that was sort of an angle into the Rocky Balboa story without having to make Rocky 7. Right. You know, so I thought the smart angle of exploring what does a bully grow up to be? Why are they like that? You know, that exploration was a great angle into the universe, and then finding ways where you find LaRusso at a place in his life where he's maybe, you know, he's 8 years since Miyagi's passed. There's a void in his life. He's trying to find his balance, even though he has success in family life and other things. And dive into the gray areas of all these characters. You know what I mean? So every episode, your allegiance can change of who you're sort of rooting for, and therein lie a smart idea. And on top of that, 10 years ago, we didn't have the ability to make a 5-hour movie and cut it up into 10 half-hour, easily digestible parts.
Right.
It was either a major motion, 2-hour major motion picture, or you have to be a 22-episode network show. So the smart idea, the timeliness of it, and the ability to have these platforms that services it. Basically, we're making a 5-hour movie every season. Is how we approach it, and it's fun to dive into the gray areas, of all these characters, and then you add this phenomenal young cast that now adds longevity to the whole concept. Here we are.
What is it like for you? Because you've gotten to play the character in deeper in a couple flicks. You, Martin, you guys like got one bite at the apple and stuff, and then get to come back and really texturize them. But I would imagine, like, going back into Daniel, like, I get to take him into adulthood. I get to show the teachings of Miyagi, like, without Miyagi being there.
Right. Yeah, no, that was a big part of, from the get-go, our first meeting with John, Josh, and Hayden, I said, I get it's called Cobra Kai. I get it's the Johnny Lawrence, that's the way into the show. If I can have Miyagi and the essence of Miyagi and Daniel's life as an adult, for good or bad, woven throughout this show, then I'm not interested. And they were steadfast and assured that was a big part of the show for them. It's the Karate Kid universe and not necessarily one character.
Right.
It's that whole world, and so it's important to have that, just not for LaRusso, but even for the the Cobra Kai side of the story. And now as we go forward, everything's kind of coming together. When we go forward, it's not A and B sides.
Yes.
It becomes one universe, and so that's what's really exciting moving forward from here.
The end of season 2 was fraught with so much peril. I was very irritated when that was that. I was like, no, because it ended. But it has me invested. It's all I think about in my waking life. I was making a movie this year, and for the last 2 months, I've been like, yeah, we have to talk about Cobra Kai. You kids got to jump into something that was up and running and whatnot, but I'll be honest with you, as much as I love the story, I came for them. I came for their story. I stay for your story. Like, it's that compelling, and you guys are that good, and that's a tough feat to pull off, man. Second generation of kids in the KK universe are as compelling as the kids in the first generation who are now the grown-ups and one. It's like a Degrassi next generation version of Karate Kid. How familiar with the movie were you guys before you jumped into it?
I mean,
he always points to one of me.
I mean, she's the talker in the group.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I had not seen the movie before.
Right.
It was one of my boyfriend's favorite movies,
Right.
and he had it on our movies to watch list. And he is very, very sweet and generous, and always lets me pick the movie. So we did not get to it very early on in our relationship, and then I got the call, and he read the thing, and he was like, "Oh, Cobra Kai." And I was like, yeah, it's some audition I have. And he was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. And he freaked out, and he was like, well, for who? And I was like, Samantha LaRusso. He was like, are you... And I was like, just don't talk to me about it. Don't freak me out. Don't tell me anything. He's been the biggest just nerd about this whole thing. And I'll tell you, he every time he comes on set, he's just freaks out. So he was trying to convince me to watch it. I was like, I don't want the pressure. I don't want to freak out. I know I won't get it. When I don't get it, we can watch it. And then it kept getting one step further in the process, and I kept not wanting to watch it, not wanting to psych myself out. Finally, when I got the call that I booked it, and I actually got a personal call from Ralph saying, welcome to the family, we sat down that day and we binge watched all the movies.
Oh my God, that's so wonderful, man. I remember watching the show, and I like to consider myself a writer and stuff. I've been for 25 years, and sometimes I'm just such an audience member. The writing's so good, I don't see it coming. Never occurred to me that you would also be good at karate. It's right there. But then the first time I was like, no! Of course he trained her! Oh.
You can ask them how much I begged for that. I pulled on every sleeve and whispered in every ear for all of season 1, hey, Samantha, karate? They're like, just hold off, just wait till the end of the season,
They were right, because the payoff was magic, where I was like, yes, there is another. And I've absolutely enjoyed, the what do they call it? I was going to say three-way, but that's not the word. The
love triangle.
The love triangle, thank you. I've enjoyed that. That's something, too, that could easily be come on, man, that's episodic or soap operatic. but it absolutely worked. I bought it. For a minute, I thought like, oh, they're gonna play him shitty, and he's gonna like get into the LaRusso and then be like a shitty kid. But like, you're a nice boy. Like, I was so happy that your character turned out to be a nice boy. And I'm always rooting for you, but at the same time, I was like, but he's not a bad kid. But like, then it was, I'm telling you, man, like when I watch the show, it's like, this is how you write? It's so good. Like, it makes sense to me. Talk about it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like being a nice kid. Robbie is probably one of the nicest kids ever. But the problem was, I mean, Johnny wasn't around. His mom wasn't really around. He had no guidance. So the only guidance he had really was these delinquent kids around him. And he's like, you know what? This is the only way I got. This is the only path I'm going to be able to take. So he just got into that. But when he was introduced to Daniel, you know, he realized that this delinquency is not the only path he has to take. Right. You know, that goodness in his heart was always there and always will be. It just took some trials to kind of figure that out. And I think with Miguel is the fact of like, we're both really nice guys. And the fact is we relate a lot. Our lives are very, very alike in the show. You know, we didn't grow up with the dads. We find fatherly figures. We're trying to just get through life and figure out what's going on and how to live it correctly.
You guys are doing great.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that, you know, Tanner really touched on a lot of it, but I guess to add on to it a little bit, I really appreciate what the writers have done with the character. They're not really two-dimensional at all. Every single character is fleshed out, and getting to play, you know, someone who in the first season goes from being a very shy, timid, vulnerable character to someone who's a little bit more confident and really goes all out, you know, really is something that is really foreign to me. And in season 2, going in all over again, you really get to see how the confidence gets to your head. And, you know, at the end of season 2, how...
You're gonna make me, don't.
Yeah. How at the end of season 2...
I both loved and hated. I'm telling you, like, if you haven't seen, which camera I talked to, if you haven't watched Cobra Kai yet, I'm not gonna say skip ahead to it, but the hallway fight in school, like, is brilliant, and it's wonderful, and it's joyous at the same time. As much as you're like, these kids, they shouldn't be fighting in school, you're like, kick each other's asses. And then, like, it turns in a way where, like, there's only 2 moments this year that I screamed at a screen. One was, you know, Robert Downey Jr. dying, spoilers, and hey man, it's been out for a while. And the other was with Miguel. I was like, and then as it was coming close, I was like, they're awfully close to that railing. Oh, and then I was like, no! And that had everything to do with that performance. I loved watching the arc, and I loved watching. It's never as simple. Like, the writers are brilliant on the show. They don't do something as simple as like, he's a bad guy, he's a good guy. It's like life. It's gray. There's a lot of gray and a lot of misunderstanding and stuff like that. But the human quality that you brought to that character, you got to think about it. Again, I came for these 2, so that's what I'm there for. But for you guys to, like, you know, of course they got to cut to the kids sometimes. As a storyteller, I'm like, all right, let's watch the kids' story. But the kids' story was equally as compelling. At a certain point, I was like, all right, get back to the kids and stuff. You guys have done a tremendous job. Obviously, I'm very passionate. You, sir, since we're on the IMDb, I'd be remiss if I didn't point this out. Your IMDb list may be the longest in all of the IMDb. It's bigger than Liam Neeson's cock, man. It just goes on forever. You've been working for a damn minute. What is this like to be able to come back to a character that, like, was a great moment in your career, in a very long career, but now you get to pull the taffy and really go deep with him?
Well, I think there was so many movies where, you know, you think you have 5 lines in a movie that's a hit. You do 5 lines in Raiders of the Lost Ark, everyone will see it. You can do the lead in some movies, and if the film isn't good, no one's going to see it. You know, this character was brought to me, and I was wondering, why can't I come in season 1 earlier? And they'd say, no, you'll set up season 2. And they talked about writing with versatility and writing with vulnerability and having a lot of, you know, in-depth moments, not just be, you know, Darth Vader.
Right,
you know?
right.
And the bottom line is they write so well. They write with such distinction that it was a pleasure. And that was my only concern was I going to go back and play a heavy? You know, I'm making a living playing a heavy often enough, but I wanted to do something else. And they depicted their structure of the character so well. And I believed them. And they knew more about the 3 of us than we knew.
Right.
And the bottom line is you just go for it, because it's all. The star of Karate Kid to me has always been Robert Kamen, the writer. You know, without you know.
Starts with the words.
Without No Mercy, without Mercy for the Weak, without Sweep the Leg, how many movies do we really remember over the last 50 years where we can quote the lines? You know,
true.
you remember Casablanca, you remember Play It Against Sam, you remember Gone with the Wind, but Karate Kid, we have a half a dozen of those lines.
It's in the American DNA. It's, you know, such a big part of pop culture. Then to see it come back, there's a piece of yourself that comes alive again where you're like, oh yeah. You guys did phenomenal with it, and I've absolutely loved it. I cannot wait for season 3. We have to do this before you leave. This is a captain's hat. And what we ask you to do is pull a question out, and everybody answers that question.
Do I pull the question out?
You can.
Can I pull the question out? Yay.
You got this.
Cool. Ooh. All right. What's your secret superpower? I pulled the question. Someone else answer first.
Okay.
Start with the big
guys down there.
My secret superpower. Oh, wow. I'm just thinking how my kids would see it. My secret superpower. I don't know, man. Let's come back to me. I don't know.
Outside of the crane kick that is speculative how well it works, I will say I guess my superpower is maybe not looking as old as I am.
You got a good point, Pony Boy.
Stay gold, my brother.
I think personally, I'm going to say answer for Billy, if I can. Yeah, Billy. Judging by the character Billy's playing, the greatest superpower I've known Billy since 1983. The greatest superpower that Billy has is his total preoccupation and magnificent love for his family, especially the kids.
That's true.
Especially just the preoccupation of just moment by moment to watch his kids grow up and not get involved in show business to the point of, you know, exhaustion, and just pay attention. I have so been enamored with that. It was the only person I know that equaled me in...
I love you, Dad.
He's a good dad, but I'm way better.
I think this is just Kreese trying to win Johnny Lawrence over.
It would be that, and then the spinning crescent kick, too. My spinning crescent kick, I guess, is a good superpower.
I guess just I don't know if it's a superpower, but I try whenever I can to listen to these guys when we're on set. They have so much knowledge, and just getting to work with them is already an honor. So hearing all of the little stories that they have and taking that in and just saturating in it is, I would say that's one of the best powers that I have on this set.
So your superpower is kissing ass.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well done.
I'd probably say my secret superpower is probably just patience. I think patience is super important in life.
Particularly in this business.
Yeah, so I just have extreme amount of patience and always just make sure that everything's going to be okay as long as you just wait and be humble, and things are going to happen.
Smart.
It's the only way we got through all the fight scenes with me. It's very much patience on his part. I think mine would be both my superhero power and my kryptonite maybe would be my inability to shut up. I've had a lot of fun talking and making friends around here for it.
Do not shut up, particularly on set. None of you shut up. Keep doing it. What I hope is that in 20 years or 10, 15, these windows get shorter, we're watching your kids in the next generation of the story. Maybe you guys are like, we don't want to be doing this in 20 years. But you never know, man. Like, I just want to see it keep going now, man. I had no idea how much I needed these characters back in my life. Thank you for ushering them back in, giving me something that I legit look forward to watching. You make me a fan again. So thank you for that. Give it up for the kids from Cobra Kai! Stick around for more IMDb at San Diego Comic-Con 2019 later on.